What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Light back with another YouTube video, and in today's video we're going to be doing Bad Batch full season review here on the channel. So yeah, Bad Batch finally finished airing, and yeah, I got some stuff to say about it. But anyways, quickly before we begin the video, I just want to warn everybody, spoilers for the Bad Batch, the complete show. I'll be kind of talking about most things, not most things, probably everything about the show. But anyways, yeah, let's get into it. So the Bad Batch has finally aired, finished airing. So yeah, now you know what that means. Full season review in full effect. Let's go. So yeah, I definitely have some stuff to say about it. I'll give my initial impressions of the show. I definitely think it was a solid show. It's just personally in my all-time animation, uh, Star Wars stuff. Definitely, I got Rebels first, then Clone Wars, then Bad Batch, and then Resistance. I mean, yeah, this does have potential, maybe knocking off Clone Wars, maybe. But I mean, it's kind of two different storytelling aspects and stuff like that. I don't know if I'll do a video on this and just kind of talking about the difference between the two shows. But I mean, a lot of people from the get go were starting really looking at the show like this was season 8 of the Clone Wars, and definitely I think that hyped up a lot of people way too much. I mean, that's just personally my opinion. That's why I'm not. I know a lot of people are mad with the way the show went, but personally, myself, I tried not to think that way. I thought more like, yeah, maybe it is like season 8 of the Clone Wars, but at the same time, I don't think exactly it's gonna be different because of course it's got different perspectives. It's a different kind of thing. If anything, you would compare it more to say Rebels, for example, because that's not an anthology show, whereas Clone Wars was more of like a short knit kind of telling stories of different events and whatnot. So that's one thing to note as well. I just wanted to get that out of the way quickly. But anyways, let's get into it. So the first thing, I definitely thought the shows definitely started solid, and then it kind of went down and then went back up and then went back down and then finally went back up. I think it just went up and down for most of the show. I can't even lie. It went up and down for most of the show. Definitely some interesting stuff in it. I mean, they did show some conclusions to some of the characters we knew from the Clone Wars and where they were at in this whole Star Wars universe, uh, or Star Wars canon. I'll just say that because yeah, you kind of understood where they were from and legends aspect, but in terms of canon, you didn't know exactly where they were or whatnot. We saw some familiar faces from, say, the Rebel show and stuff like that. Some solid action. I can't even lie. I thought it was some good action. Some good answers, questions answered. Anyways, let's get into it. Let's just talk about some stuff I liked. Now, first of all, I definitely did like just the characters. I'm a huge fan of the Bad Batch. Some of my favorite clones are the Bad Batch. I definitely think they're really cool characters. A really cool set of characters here. Interesting characters. It was interesting to see them transitioning through to the phase of the Empire. Uh, Another thing I did like was the villain of the show. Of course, the villain's gonna be the Empire, but I mean, definitely very interesting to see the Crosshair, one of the Bad Batch's brothers, end up turning bad. I think I'm not 100% sure if he removed his chip, but he said at the end he removed his chip, and this is how he truly feels. So I'm not too sure what to think about that, but he's still a good villain personally. He's got a rank in my top 10 villains of Star Wars. I think he's pretty cool for what he is. I mean, he also creates a very interesting villain because you also kind of feel sympathy. At least I kind of did, because it's like, does he know what he's really doing or what's happening here? So it's kind of like that a little bit, but at the same time, it's like, damn, Bad Batch. That I mean, damn, Crosshair. That's pretty far, or whatever, like that. Especially when he's like killing innocent people and stuff like that. It was just, yeah. Uh, but other than that, that was a really interesting, well-written villain, I must say. Another thing I did do enjoy was the characters' introductions. Also, like relating to some characters that we see later on in like other shows. For example, in Rebels, like in the start of this show, actually we saw Kanan Jarrus. He was there, so we saw his whole Order 66 thing there, which is interesting. We saw Gregor, who later appears in, of course, Rebels with Rex. We saw also Hera. She was there, and Cham Syndulla in his whole insurgency, which later on he appears in Rebels. So that's pretty interesting to see that happening. We also saw some familiar faces from the Clone Wars as well. We saw the droid from Kamino. We saw the Kaminoans, of course. We saw Cad Bane. So it was interesting to see that. Um, and we also saw a character from The Mandalorian that we'll later see later. Fennec Shand was in the show as well, which is very interesting. I thought very interestingly, I definitely did like how they showed characters like that and stuff like that. Uh, yeah. So that was interesting as well. Another thing I did like was, for the most part, it had some pretty good events, plotters, twists, and stuff like that. Pretty interesting. I did like how they answered a lot of questions, especially with the. We even saw like the effects on the clones and stuff like that. We did see a few like rebel and whatnot, and we also saw um, like the how the clones kind of felt about the whole humans instead coming in and taking over the seat spots as stormtroopers now. So it was interesting to see that as well. Uh, so yeah, that was pretty interesting to see as well. Now to move into the more, I'll say in more in the mid area. Now I'm not too sure how I feel about the whole. I mean, Omega was an interesting character. I'll just say that, but I mean, it kind of just felt like it was trying to capture the Mandalorian a little bit there. And I honestly, I'm not gonna say I was a total fan of that. I was still kind of a fan. Don't get me wrong, Omega's a fun character and whatnot, but it just felt this. I felt like Dave Filoni was kind of just trying to rebirth the Mandalorian again with Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian again, or Grogu and Din Djarin again. So I kind of just felt that way a little bit. I didn't really like that too much, but I mean, I guess it's all right. I mean, it wasn't exactly like that, but at the same time, it's just like, yeah. I mean, yeah, she was needed for some much needed like relief and stuff like that. I don't know how it felt if it was just the Bad Batch alone and no Omega. Maybe they could have added someone else, but I don't know. But I know she's all right. So yeah, that was pretty good. I mean, another thing too was the fillers. I just felt like some of the fillers were a little bit weren't the greatest. I must say, like some of the fillers were kind of stupid in my opinion. But I mean, of course, that's what their point is. The fillers aren't meant to be the best episodes of the show or are very good. I just felt like as if they put a lot of fillers. I felt in the show, and I don't know if it was like a lack of if the show was too long or something. I just felt like it definitely had some fillers that I personally didn't really like too much. But other than that, it was still a solid show. Some stuff I didn't like. Again, I didn't really like the fillers. I felt like yeah, it wasn't too good. I mean, another thing too is it just felt like it didn't have much like boom, or it didn't have like a really catchy thing that just popped out. I mean, the first episode was really good in my opinion, but I mean, after that it slowly declined in terms of my opinion. It's of course it declined and went back up, but at the same time it was just like yeah, not a huge like I felt like it was kind of strange seeing like it decline at certain parts and stuff like that. And you were waiting for something big to happen, and that just never went through. Especially, I know Captain Rex wasn't supposed to really be involved massively in the show or anything, but I felt like they should have put him in a little bit more. I mean, they had the resources. It's all voiced by the same guy, so there's no problem with that. It's just like why didn't they put him in the show for a little bit more? I mean, I would have loved to see him maybe come in for like one episode more or something like that. That would have been very interesting to me, but they didn't do that, and I mean it's still a little bit interesting, but I mean, yeah, I kind of wish that the same thing. Personally, even when they name drop Boba Fett, I just hoped he would have showed up. But again, I'm not too sure what they're planning for season 2, so maybe he could show up in there. Same with Rex, so I'm not super bummed out about that. But yeah. Anyways, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.